I felt like in the wake of what has been a brutally heavy week, it was time to talk to my friend because she generally makes me feel better about things. Salena Zito, author of, so many incredible articles, but her book Butler's going like gangbusters, as it should. She was there when they shot President Trump. Salena, before we get into some ugliness, tell me something wonderful.
Something wonderful. My church was packed all the way out the door and down the steps on Sunday.
That is most definitely something wonderful. You are famous for a few things, but one of the things is you travel back roads, drive through, live in middle America, not necessarily talking to political people all the time, but kind of giving us an understanding of what's going on outside of our bubble. So, Salena, what's been going on outside of the bubble?
Well, obviously, of note is what's happened in the past week.
Mm-hmm.
First, I think it kicks off with the murder of that young woman in North Carolina, and then the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And so what I was looking for is to see how young people were grappling with this. Because if people read the book Butler, which is, of course, about that day, but it's also about that entire election, they will see how many young people, I kept interviewing them and noting that, hey, you guys, pay attention. There's young people out here, and they're showing up as conservatives. And faith is part of what's drawing them away from a party that does not revere faith, meaning the Democrats, and towards a Republican Party, which is much more broad and accepting of faith as a cornerstone. And so on Sunday, I went to my own little country church, but then I went to a city church in Pittsburgh. And this is in a neighborhood called the Hill District, which is a traditional Black neighborhood in the city of Pittsburgh. And the name of the church was called Sanctuary. And the kids came by the busloads from all the universities, from University of Pittsburgh, from Duquesne, from Point Park College, from Chatham. And they were filled with a boldness that had to do with faith, but it also had to do with their values in terms of their political beliefs. And what was so fascinating to me, Jesse, was that they believed that Charlie did not die in vain, that it was incumbent upon them to spread the ideal that purpose is important, and that we cannot be afraid, meaning that, like, we cannot be afraid. We have to stand up for our belief system. And I was really just blown away about it. But the other thing I saw, Jesse, I went to my little grandson's flag football game, practice last night. And we're talking suburbs, on paper, these women should be Democrats, right? Upper middle class, college educated suburban women in Pennsylvania. Well, I will tell you that they are deeply upset by what happened to Charlie Kirk, and they are deeply motivated to not be afraid. And the number of women that had forever shirts on or freedom shirts on was just like kind of blew me away.
Speaking with my friend Salena Zito, author of the book Butler. Salena, in the wake of this awful thing, I've seen so much of what you just said. I'm looking at a headline right here. TPUSA, that's Turning Point USA. That was Charlie's organization, for anyone who may not know. Chapters see a boom in recruitment, nearly 18,000 inquiries for college chapters. Why aren't people hiding, Salena? We just watched one of our leaders be murdered on camera. That should create fear, shouldn't it?
Right.
Shouldn't people be hiding at home? I'm not going. I'm not doing anything. I'm not getting involved. It has done quite the opposite. Why?
It is. It is. And so it's so interesting that you say that. So, 1 + 1 = 2, right? You see someone get shot, you share their beliefs, You go indoors. You don't do anything. But it reminds me of that conversation that I had with President Trump right after he was shot. He called me the next day, and this is in my book. And I asked him, sir, why did you say fight, fight, fight? And he said, well, in that moment, I wasn't Donald Trump. I represented the presidency of the United States of America and all that that means throughout history. And the grit and the exceptionalism and getting back up. I knew it was my responsibility to show that strength. And I think that we're looking back in the mirror at this. And that is why you're not seeing fear. And I think because whether you like the president or not, it was a symbolic moment that showed, go ahead, you shot me, but I got back up and our country goes on. And I think these young people, I know they do because I talk to them, they believe that their generation is supposed to be the strong generation and stand up for the traditions of the country.
Gosh, that is so freaking wonderful to hear. And I hear and see so much of that, Salena. These younger kids, this younger generation, they are so much more politically involved and not as dirty commies like previous young generations has been. It's always been this way. You know, everyone knows that old Churchill quote, if you're under 30 and not a liberal, you have no heart. And if you're over 30 and not a conservative, you have no brain. It was just built in that young people are supposed to be kooky commies, and then eventually they'll start paying taxes and come over to our side. That is not the trend right now. Why?
No, that isn't the trend. Because this is a generation that has been looking for purpose, and the adults in the room have not offered it to them. And they believe it is that, okay, all right, you're not going to give it to us. We will create it for ourselves. You know, we believe in this idea of this country, and we want it to sustain, and it's on our backs to do that. And I think a lot of people dismissed this generation, right, because there was so much heavy attention to millennials, that this next generation sort of just got, sort of forgotten. Right. And their response to that was, we don't need that attention. We understand we have purpose, and they're showing it to us. And I think it's incredible to watch this. And, you know, in Butler, I chronicle that a lot. Like, there are a lot of young people in that book that I interviewed throughout 2024. It's all right there. And I kept saying, y'all aren't paying attention. This is a thing. And people kept dismissing me. But if you look at the exit polls and you see how young people are responding to this, you know, one of the things I think is really fascinating in talking to young people is having them witness teachers, professors, doctors, and nurses, not just voicing an opinion like, oh, I didn't like him, right? Like, normal, right? That's like a normal opinion. I didn't like Charlie Kirk. But like saying things like, I'm glad he died and I hope the rest of MAGA dies with them. And you know, a couple of them have said to me, like, we grew up with Mr. Rogers telling us those are the helpers and always go to the helpers. The helpers aren't there for us.
Speaking with Salena Zito, author of the book Butler. Salena, do you have time for one more quick segment? Because actually,
absolutely.
I want to dig into specifically that, not necessarily the assassination, which we talked about, the response to it, because, man, that has been overwhelming. We will be right back with more Salena Zito, back with my friend Salena Zito, author of the wonderful book Butler. Salena, in the wake of that assassination last week, obviously, the assassination was horrific, but there is something that has surprised me. It's not the response of the commie demons in our country. I've known their nature, and I've warned everyone about it for years and years. That didn't surprise me at all. What has surprised me is how much the response has affected people. I have as many emails about Democrat responses to it as I do about the assassination itself. People are mortified that these monsters are among us. They didn't know.
No, they didn't know. And to my earlier point, A lot of them are, as Mr. Rogers called them, the helpers, the people that we taught children to go to if they were in a dangerous situation, a teacher, a nurse, a doctor, a counselor at school. It's those people that aren't making like, I disagreed with him, I don't like him. Yeah, of course, that's a normal reaction. That are wishing that it had been a more violent death, or that other people had gone down, or it had been the president too, or all MAGA should die, is just really deeply impacted and galvanized people in a way that is stunning. I'll have a story coming out in a couple of days about training for gun use and gun sales going through the roof among suburban women since this happened. Moms, you know who they are? They're moms. That's a big thing. And my profession does not see it, Jesse. My profession doesn't see it at all. And the way they have behaved in pretending and trying to make it be something other than what it was is scandalous.
It's scandalous. And to be honest, Salena, it's obvious why at any moment these people always seem to be ready to jump in and defend the revolution. That's just, it seems what it is. Whenever there's something that may hamper the revolution or make the revolution look bad, they'll lie and call the killer MAGA, or they'll say no one's actually celebrating it, or they'll go on television and say, well, I mean, he kind of had it coming. After all, he was a gun guy, or he said this or said that. They can't help themselves. They see themselves as warriors for the revolution and not journalists, and it's obvious when you see it.
Well, here's the thing, Jesse. That side isn't the revolution. Yeah. The revolution are those young people showing up for faith and showing up for their traditional beliefs. That's the revolution. That's the counterculture, and they're missing it.
Yeah, they are. All right, Salena, let's change the subject, talk about one or two other things that are not quite as dark, although that actually made me feel a whole lot better. Donald Trump, as it pertains to the economy, how are people feeling about it? Because no matter what, the middle class is still being squeezed. That is not something that has gone away. You can see evidence of it everywhere. How do they feel?
For the most part, they're pretty happy.
Okay.
They'd like to see prices go down a little bit, but they also, people aren't stupid. They know this takes a while. And I suspect that on Friday we are going to see a rate cut. I'll be shocked if we don't. There's no reason, no excuse for it not to be a rate cut. And the tariffs are having, in the middle of the country, the tariffs are having the positive impact that they were meant to have, that people dissuaded and said, that's not going to happen, it's going to collapse the economy. The economy hasn't collapsed. Although, when the economy collapsed, it collapsed between March 2024 and March of 2025. That's when we were crap. And the BLS numbers, the labor statistics were doctored.
Yeah, of course
it's scandalous.
Salena, is the public tired of deportation? Are they tired of the Trump crackdown on illegal immigration, or is that still as popular as it was the day he got elected and said he was going to do it?
Yeah, because their neighbors and family members aren't dying from a criminal element that caused their death.
Speaking of criminal element, my final one to you. It's hard to imagine that violent crime is anything but a loser for Democrats right now. They are the pro-crime party. They can't even really hide it as much as they may try to sidestep the issue. Is that a label that normies are hanging on them?
Yes. It's almost comical that they have made getting rid of crime a bad idea. Just take my hometown in the city of Pittsburgh. We're down 200 policemen because they all retired after the summer of love, right? And they can't get anybody to join the force. And the city is just filled with homeless camps and drug deals. And Pittsburgh's a beautiful city, but I won't go down there because it's dangerous.
Yeah. Salena Zito, her book is Butler. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it.